For those amongst you who are more video focused, then a cinema lens might be exactly what you need. In this video, we're reviewing the Sirui Vision Prime 1 Series T1.4 full frame cine lens. Now this lens is a manual prime lens with a focal length of 24mm. It is designed for full frame cameras and has a maximum aperture of T1.4. It's available for Sony E, Nikon Z, Canon RF and L mount, which in an amazing innovation is all available in this one lens. It has interchangeable mounts for all of these camera types, included in the price. Very useful if you use camera bodies from different manufacturers and don't want separate versions of the same lens. So today I'm going to review it with the E-mount on, and all of the images and videos, including this main studio shot, have been shot with this lens. Now the price of this lens is $649. Which is the same price for the 35 and 50mm version of this lens, which is also available. But today we're just focusing on the 24mm version. So how does this lens perform? So Sirui have sent me this lens for review, but as always have no input on the final video and I will be reviewing it honestly. If you haven't seen my channel before, I make lots of videos about Sony cameras and lenses. So subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this, as it helps me out a lot. So when buying a single version of one of these lenses, it comes packaged in a large box, and that's due to the lens's size. It's certainly not the smallest. In the box, there is a manual, a large sticker, and a screwdriver for changing those lens mounts. It contains a carry pouch with a strap, and of course there are the extra lens adapters, which are all nicely packaged in their individual carry case. And looking at the lens build quality, it feels very tough and hard wearing with its metal finish. As you can see, the lens is fairly large and weighs around 570 grams. The focus ring has a long travel, that means you can be quite precise with the focusing. And the aperture ring is closer to the body and ranges from T1.4 to T16. The lens has a 67mm filter thread and doesn't come with a lens hood. So hang on, you might be wondering, wait, why does it say T1.4 instead of f1.4? Well, here's the difference. F-stops, which you normally see on camera lenses, tell you how wide the aperture is mathematically, whereas T-stop actually tells you the amount of light hitting your sensor after it passes through the lens elements. So while an f1.4 and a T1.4 lens might look the same on paper, only the T gives you the exact exposure reading. That's why cine lenses like this 24mm T1.4 are marked with T-stops. It's all about consistency. If you're switching between lenses, for example, you need to know that T2.8, for example, means the same brightness on both lenses. Anyway, so that's that out of the way. So let's look at the image quality. Remember, this is a manual focus lens and has no image stabilization. And as you'd hope, once you've found focus, the images are incredibly sharp, especially wide open at T1.4. And the good news is that the image gets even sharper at around T2. Yes, of course, the images do get a little softer at the edges, but they're still decently sharp. And they get even sharper if you stop down further to T2.8. Now there is noticeable vignetting with this lens, which makes the edges of your shot look a little darker, but this is mostly noticeable wide open at T1.4 and is much clearer even by T2. So focusing with this lens is incredibly smooth, so you can get smooth focus pull between subjects. And the bokeh is also excellent and smooth, so you get really professional looking out of focus backgrounds. For close-up shooting, you can focus as close as 28 centimeters and it stays nice and sharp this close up. So in a nutshell, you should probably look at getting a cine lens, especially like this Sirui 24mm, if you need smooth focus pulls, as this cine lens has a long and precise focus ring. That means you can smoothly change focus without your images being jittery, without it jumping between those focus points. There is also pretty much no focus breathing. This lens is designed so that the frame doesn't zoom in and out when you change focus. Sometimes you will notice this a lot more with a regular photo lens, the type of lens that I would normally cover on this channel. This feature is particularly good if you want super accurate focus while making videos. It also has consistent aperture control. This lens has a smooth, clickless aperture ring that lets you change the brightness mid-shot without sudden jumps in exposure. Now you might be looking at the price of $649 and think, well, that's expensive, but for a cine lens, you might look at the price tag of $649 and think that's incredibly expensive. But for an affordable way into getting a cine lens for a budding filmmaker, for example, then it's a pretty good price point. This lens is definitely not for photography or casual video use. You need to be prepared for the manual experience. Of course, the main part of that coming from it being manual focus. But the smooth focus pulls, no focus breathing, and consistent aperture control makes it a standout lens. The image quality is also pleasantly sharp. So if you are getting into the world of filmmaking but you're on a budget, this lens is definitely worth considering.